What up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back here for episode 74 of the Friday Night Movie Club, and I'm joined here once again. And I wish I had positive news to relay to everyone again, but we reviewed the movie, and I had high hopes for it, and the high hopes crashed and burned pretty hard, and then I think we're all probably going to be in the same spot. Believe it or not, I might be the harshest one out of everyone here tonight, because I was the only one that actually had some kind of hope for this film. But
I can't
we're here to
believe you
talk about
did.
Lisa
Yeah.
Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, or I don't know how Jewish you want to spell it. It's
Frank-
Stein.
I go
Movie
with-
directed, written, and shot by a woman. So there you go, guys.
Oh gosh.
It's
Oh.
almost as if this experiment is failing miserably, but we'll talk about that as the short goes on here. Rick, how you doing tonight, Rick?
I'm doing well. I'm not suffering from dementia yet, so there's that.
Give it time; it'll settle in.
Yep.
And then also joining us here tonight is our good buddy Rob. How's it going, Rob?
Oh, this is good. This is my first stream where I'm not on drugs of some kind. Recovering from anesthesia yesterday because I had to get my stomach looked at. Everything looks good, by the way, so that's cool. And yeah, so it's a milestone. This is what, number 74. So yeah, it's probably not good, but progress.
Yeah,
I
It's
shudder to
taking me
think
this
what
long.
drugs you were on in the other occasions, Robert.
Oh, it's just pot. That's all.
Oh.
I just like to spice it up. Most people are like, why do you
I was
present it
on
that way?"
methamphetamine this whole time.
No, that's Brett
straight
Easton Ellis's
glass,
boyfriend having a psychotic break while on meth earlier this week. Anyway,
Well, I mean,
shared that with Chad by accident. That was like, oops.
hey, I mean, we live a certain lifestyle. I can't say that I'm too surprised. So let's just leave it at that. Yeah. So this has been a very, very interesting week because I think all the stupid wrestling stuff is dying down now. So that's all that old lore is going away, and now we're back to talking about movies again. And it's like, look, I know it's still early in the year. Maybe things will get better from this point out here, but man, it's been a rough few weeks for films. At least last year there was like a couple of films that was like, okay, maybe this would be at least somewhat of a 50-50 year. But I think we can agree at this point that the best film that we've seen so far this year is The Beekeeper. And that's not exactly like singing the praises of The Beekeeper. It's just that by default, it's the best movie that we've seen so far this year. And I don't know. Are you feel like with the trajectory that we're heading towards, with all the spring movies that are about to come out, and then the summer ones, that we're gonna be in for a rough 2024 as far as film releases, or is there actually something to look forward to right now?
Well, I'm the only one looking forward to Dune Part 2. I already got my ticket, and I'm going to leave work early so I could see it. I was tempted to go see the re-release, but no, I'm poor. But other than that, I mean, I can't think of anything specific. I'm already hearing bad things about the Bob Marley biopic. I'm already, I can't whip up great enthusiasm for Madame Web. Though to be fair, I've not seen it. I've heard very little about it. So I don't know what else is supposed to come out this year that's supposed to, you know, overwhelm me. But yeah,
There's not much. There's not much out there right now. This is. I mean, like I said, it's weird because last year there were so many movies that got pushed back to 2024. So you think that we would actually be in a better spot because now we're going to get all the movies that we should have gotten like 6 months ago that we didn't get. But even those that are coming around the corner are just kind of like, eh.
well,
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know what's coming out other than was it that Bob Marley, Madam Web, and Dune Part Two. That's it.
Yes, that's next week. Madam Web, Barb Marley. I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I never got the hype about Barb Marley, but then again, I'm not a pothead, so maybe I'm just not my target demographic there. But
Yeah, I never got it either. So you're not. It's
I actually
really
like Bob
nothing to do with
Marley.
potheads, But
I actually like Bob Marley. I like the music.
nah,
I've only heard him being referenced when people are joking, like no woman, no cry. Just
yeah,
kind of dumb stuff like that. But I there's a few things that I'm looking forward to, like I think it's Jeff Nichols, his movie The Bike Riders. I think Austin Butler's going
yeah,
to have a really good year. He's in that, and he's in the second Dune movie, and the Hitman is what I think it's called, the Richard Linklater. Glenn Powell, who finally maybe a role he could sink his teeth into. I've heard good things. It got rave reviews at the festivals last year, but that's not saying much.
They certainly have been pushing Glenn Powell to be this big star. I mean,
Yeah,
you had him in Top Gun Maverick. You had him in that
plane movie.
the other plane movie with the former Kang, and
Sydney
then
Sweeney romantic comedy, which made a shitload of money, by the way. Like I don't know if you saw that I don't think
yeah,
that was the
anyone but you.
expectation.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
now they're doing a re-release or like an extended cut. So yeah,
Valentine's Day.
yeah,
I mean, because next week you're gonna have Madam Web and the Bob Marley movie. And look, I like Dakota Johnson a lot. I gotta keep saying that because this movie is probably
because
gonna be
otherwise
shit.
no one
But
will believe you.
well, it's like what right? It's not like she's a huge star or anything, and she's literally doing interviews about being a nepo baby, being the daughter of Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, and her
Yeah,
and the
grandmother,
grandmother is Tippi Hedren.
right? Who was in
Birds, the
hold
Birds.
on.
I'm sorry,
the birds,
I was fucked
Marnie.
up there.
Hold your thought
Uh,
this real quick. There's a new game show that just came out called The Floor. I'm not sure if you guys have seen or seen any commercials for it. I think
the
it's on
Rob Lowe
Fox.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and literally
No,
one of the subjects. So the whole thing is that you got like 30 people on a floor and they got to answer a bunch of questions in succession in order to gain pieces of the floor. And one of the subjects is nepo babies because apparently the contestants get to choose their own categories. And I was like, who the hell who the hell is called who knows enough about nepo babies to one even know what they are and two call themselves an expert on the topic. It's like how much of a life do you not have in order to like excel at nepo baby information? It's like it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
hey,
But
I
continue.
grew up reading People, okay? There's a reason I have useless pop culture knowledge about things like this. But no, I would actually do great in that category. I've always wanted to be on Jeopardy because I like whenever I've watched, generally do pretty well. That doesn't mean you'd be a good contestant, but I know a lot of useless information. So I will say that I know a lot of different things, but um
Mm.
a good majority of it is useless information, like, hey, who's so and so's child who has an incredible, leg up in life.
well, I know all the presidents in chronological order. I don't know if that's useless information, but it's a point of pride.
I mean, it's better than a lot of people what they should know about the presidents of the United States. So, I mean, I can't knock you too hard for that one, but yeah, it's just kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at so ahead. First of all, a couple of things. Let's talk about some of the previews for these movies. Two things that I've noticed here. One, have you noticed that at least with Regal, I'm not sure if AMC has the same issue, but you notice that they're starting to stretch out the commercials in the beginning of the previews. So it used to be like your start time. Okay, let's go with the previews and go on with the movie. Now they're adding like 10 minutes of advertisements before they play the actual previews, which means that now there's like a 30-minute window in between where your film is actually supposed to start versus when the film actually does start. So it's like now I have to like go there like 30 minutes ahead of time just so I can actually like sit there and watch the movie. And it's absolutely irritating. I'm not sure if you guys know this too, but I definitely have picked up on this.
Yeah, I was 10
Yes.
minutes late today, and they were still doing the advertisements, not even the previews. And so I had to sit through all 25 minutes of the preview. So it was like 35 minutes of ads and previews before the movie started.
Yeah, I wasn't too concerned when I got to the theater and I ordered food and the movie started at 7:40, but it was like, oh, I still haven't got my food, but I know I'm going to have to watch a lot of commercials, so I wasn't too worried. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've noticed that they seem to be stretching out. I don't notice the commercials so much. I get lost. I was like, oh, okay, Maria Menounos is finished, so I guess we're about to start the other section.
It's like I'm
If
sitting there. It's like the movie's supposed to start at like 5:30. It's like 5:41, and I'm still seeing advertisements for Sprite. It's like you almost want to like get up and like find the usher and be like, "Are you guys gonna start this film anytime soon?" Because like I actually have like shit to do with my life. Like after I'm done with this whole thing, like this isn't a hostage situation.
Yeah, at least with the Alamo, they just have their little half-hour pre-show and then they do the trailers. I don't think the only commercial they do is for the Alamo itself. I don't think they do anything else. So I'm not too concerned there. But at the Cinemark and at AMC, they do. But once I at AMC, once I see Nicole Kidman, I'm going, oh, okay, we're finally starting because that's how they always wrap up.
You know what? I vastly prefer the Nicole Kidman thing, which apparently millennials just mock. I
Hmm.
will prefer that a million times to the stupid fucking Regal, like the people going into the theater and saying lines from movies makes me want to rip the little hair I have on my head off. Seriously. It is the most cringeworthy shit. And then on Reddit, there's the Regal Unlimited Reddit thing. There's people that think it's genuinely charming. I want to squeeze these people's heads like fucking grapes. Seriously. Holy shit, dude. It's one of the things I hate about being a Regal Unlimited member. It's
Yeah.
especially this month. I've seen 4 movies already, but holy shit, dude.
Well, I there's no Regal Theater here in El Paso. It's a Cinemark, AMC, and Premiere, and Alamo. So I don't have that experience, and I don't get the mockery for the Nicole Kidman thing, and I don't understand why some people salute. And I don't understand why it's such a thing that it's. I think it's
I,
very sincere, and I think
I
it's very nice. I wish they
but
had.
that's it. I've heard this. I've gotten some insight on this, like millennials and younger generations.
Mhm.
Why it's because you can never. It's like you can never just like something if there's a risk of you being made fun of for it. There's a weird like, and I've seen this too with millennials, where anything that's earnest, anything that take. By the way, the big issue with this movie is that it couldn't decide what it was trying to do or say, but they have this real big issue with like taking things in a meaningful, serious way, and instead of just like satirizing it or mocking it or undercutting it, subverting it in some way. And it's like, oh, this is why you guys think like westerns are corny and like, movies pre 1980 are, you can't watch them or you don't have an attention span. It's a very weird phenomenon, and I don't understand it. I think it's just perpetually not growing up.
Yeah, well, I
That's
mean,
probably
come
what
on.
it
If
is.
if Larry David assault Elmo can trigger Will Wheaton, of course. I mean, what do you expect? But he's not a millennial. He's
He's a Gen
actually one.
Xer,
Yeah, he's a Gen
probably.
Xer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's older than I am, but he's not a good representative of my generation.
Another thing that I've noticed about movie previews, we sure seem to have a lot of like lesbian love stories coming down the pike right now. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed this, but it's like so.
Drive through dolls or drive by dolls.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
those two are very similar because they're both road movies, or at least vigilante slash crime movies dealing with
Hmm.
like lesbians. So
I don't know
Yeah,
which other ones. That's the first one that popped in my mind.
yeah, Love, Wise, and Bleeding. That's the Kirsten Stewart, Katie O'Brien one.
Hmm.
There was another one that I just blanked on, but I know that one's coming out here too. And then I guess I mean you can technically kind of throw what's that upcoming film real quick. Damn, it's the one with John Cena. It literally just came. Just saw a preview for it. Damn it. It'll come back to me. I'll have to maybe just go on Wikipedia and find these ones real quick.
John
But
Cena is another one where he keeps popping up in shit that's terrible. Like
yeah,
everything he's popping up into, whether it's Fast and Furious or Argyle. Uh, there was something about this. Oh yeah, he was in that Super Bowl commercial, like
hmm
with Gronkowski. I mean, everything he's doing is just like, how does this guy have any star power? Now,
I
granted,
feel
I
like.
left the WWF when he was becoming a big thing, so I'm
Mhm.
definitely biased against him. But I've also just never seen him be really good in anything.
Good.
John
Yeah,
Cena sucks.
Here's the
John
thing,
Cena sucks.
Cena is good in a comedic sense when you put him in the right roles. Like he does have the ability to be good. When it comes to action, I haven't really seen too much of him to be like a believable action star. It's like, yeah, he's a pro wrestler, he has to look, but being like a believable top level action star, I think I probably believe The Rock more than I believe John Cena at this point. There's another film he has coming out too. That was a separate one I was thinking of called like Stickley or something like that, or Stanley. And this is the one where he was photographed wearing like the dress and the pantyhose and stuff like that. Apparently, so the concept of this whole film, it had Zac Efron in it too, and it sounds absolutely dumb. Is that three longtime friends created an imaginary character to blame for their misbehavior for the past 2 decades, and then when their partners become suspicious and demand to meet him, they decide to hire a wash-up actor to bring the character to life. So that's the whole premise of the movie, and it sounds terrible, right? It sounds like it's an absolute garbage film, and it's coming out I think on Amazon Prime in the next coming months as well. So
Oh, good. I won't watch it.
well, Christian Toto actually is the one that brought that movie to my attention. He said it looks pretty funny in terms of like not, it being an actual comedy with actual jokes and humor.
yeah.
So, and again, I want there to be good comedies out there. I want to laugh. I want to enjoy myself. It just seems like it's a really slow drip, drip,
It
drip from
feels
Hollywood
like
right now.
We've had
it,
two comedies that we've technically seen.
but here's
Uh
the
huh.
thing, and this is a big problem with Hollywood. And I've said this for a number of years. Even like I think I said this even back 2000 like 17, 2018. Like Hollywood doesn't know how to be funny anymore because the comedians that you're putting in charge to write comedy, they all stink. So I think the last like genuine comedy movie that I truly enjoyed was Tag, and that was like 2018. I think that was a few years back. But what they're also trying to do now is that they're trying to blend comedy into other genres. So it can't just be a comedy film anymore. It has to be a black comedy, or maybe let's do a horror comedy or a satirical comedy. Like they're trying
Action
to do
comedy.
action comedies. Like they're trying to do so much. It's like you guys can't even nail being funny, let alone trying to add things into the mix that you're already trying to create here. And like I said, tonight's movie is a perfect example of this. But it's like you just see this over and over again. It's like learn how to like, be funny on the first front before you try to do anything else. Like you saw the preview for what was it? The what we even talked about in the barroom, the American Society of Magical Negroes.
Oh
And like
yeah.
you go on there, it's like, oh, it's a satirical fantasy comedy. And it's like once again, you're not even good at being funny, and now you're trying to handle satire and fantasy all in the one, and then you wonder why these films absolutely fall on his face. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, granted, I know we're not going to agree about this, but I thought, I thought Poor Things was hilarious last year. I like Beau is Afraid. I mean, there is some stuff out there, but it's very experimental. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
a usual comedy setup where it's joke, 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 joke. I mean, and I won't say that this movie, Lisa Frankenstein, I don't think that it necessarily was like that. It wasn't forcing them, but every
mm-hmm.
time it tried a joke, it failed. It was just a complete failure in terms of delivery, in terms of laughs. And so I want comedy to come back. It's something I grew up loving. Whether it's like the Adam Sandler movies, Blazing Saddles, The
Yeah.
Jerk, starring Steve Martin. There's just different stuff. Austin Powers, Zoolander. I mean, even stuff like that. That's obvious spoof, obvious you know, sort of mocking its subjects. I miss that. I miss going to the
It's
theater and enjoying myself in that way.
well, it's interesting. Robert Osborne, when they did that private screenings, Robert Osborne said that he didn't find modern comedies funny because there wasn't any wit. It was all very scatological. It was all kind of, I don't want to say sight gags, but there's no wit, there's no cleverness. I mean, for me, when I think comedy, sorry, I'm gonna have to go way back. I think like Laurel and Hardy, or the Marx Brothers. I've had this discussion with Christian. He loves Abbott and Costello. Apart from Who's on First, I don't find them funny at all. But where are you going to find that kind of comedy where you can have the visual puns? In right now, I mean, it's all very sex focused. I understand that this
Dude,
lesbian
I
drive-by
will
dolls is supposed to be a comedy. Okay,
just
well, we'll
like
find out.
I understand that, dude. I'll take a blue streak right now. Like that's how low like my bar is for
I like Blue
comedies at this
Streak.
point.
I think I thought Blue Streak. I think no. I'm thinking National. I think National
So
Security. I don't know.
and National Security wasn't that much. Blue Streak was pretty good. So here's all the comedy movies that I reviewed last year. I'm just going off of everything that I reviewed, and you tell me when I mentioned a good movie. There was House Party. There was Magic Mike Last Dance.
Oh gosh.
There was Cocaine Bear, 80 for Brady, Operation Fortune, Champions, Woody Harrelson, Fool's Paradise, Charlie Day, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret,
Why?
Ghosted,
Oh,
The
yeah.
Blackening,
Oh gosh.
Joyride,
Eh,
Barbie,
eh.
Vacation Friends 2, No Hard Feelings, Asteroid City, My Big
Mm.
Fat Greek Wedding 3,
No.
Bottoms,
This is brutal.
and yeah, these are literally all the comedies.
Oh,
we
Dick's the
reviewed
musical,
last year.
right? Is that a comedy?
Oh yeah, that too. No, so yeah, those are all the
And
comedies
then
from
book.
2023.
You didn't see Book Club the next
Oh.
chapter. I did.
Yeah, no, not at all. So it's
Mhm.
like if I had to pick a best comedy out of like actual comedy, like I don't know, like nah,
Bill
I
Burr's
can't
movie
even.
wasn't terrible. Like I mean, literally, like Old Dads being potentially the best comedy of last year is that's not good. It's not like Netflix, and again, I think that's more about Bill Burr's input than Netflix helming a successful movie. But
Yeah,
it's like even that
What?
wasn't an overwhelming success.
You didn't think that Robert De Niro comedy with that stand-up comic that I have no idea who he is? I mean, that
Sebastian
wasn't.
Maniscalco,
Yeah,
no,
that wasn't the height of
no,
hilarity. Yeah?
no,
No.
that was a vanity project for that guy who probably shouldn't even be there. I mean, look, he was in The Irishman as what pretty famous gangster who I cannot think of his name right now, but yeah, I don't know why he's sort of been given this carte blanche to to just hey, here's a movie.
Same
Mhm.
with was it Joe Coy for Easter
Sunday. Yeah.
Why? Why did they give
Probably
him a
Pennis or
whole?
fucking Chelsea Handler for an extended period of time.
Oh, that was Robert Motto, folks, not me. I have no idea. I don't. I mean, when they were advertising it, quite obsessively almost. It's like, who is this person? I did not know who Joe Coy is, and the title was so vague. Easter Sundays as like a sort of religious movie, but what did that even mean? It's like, don't give your movie
Okay,
title.
American Fiction. How about that? American Fiction was funnier than all those fucking
Yes,
movies last year. I just saw it
I laughed out
last
loud.
weekend. I first 5-10 minutes I was laughing my ass off. So yeah, I go watch that instead of all those terrible comedy movies.
Yeah, and like I said, with that and Oppenheimer, Poor Things, why would anyone vote for Barbie for adapted screenplay? Seriously, you
You
have
know why?
four great films. You have four great films or well-crafted films, and you're going to vote for Barbie? You really think that Barbie, that 3-minute America Ferrera rant, is the height of literature?
I need to
What?
share something with you guys.
Oh
So
gosh.
my favorite film critic, Bret Easton Ellis, actually loved Barbie and initially hated Oppenheimer. So I was just like, throwing things at my phone, listening to that. But he literally tried to make the case that it's a great comedy because the sort of jokes it's talking about in terms of the sexes, like that's really hard to do. And I mean, I didn't buy any of it. I think it's nonsense because
Mhm.
I absolutely hated the movie. I didn't even think it was funny on just a very basic level of storytelling, and just all the other invective nonsense about how hard it is to be a woman and trying to become a woman from a plastic doll. So I do not understand the love that movie has. To me, it's a very stupid movie that makes stupid people feel smart.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it because it's absolutely true.
Well, as for Mr. Ellis, you could grant him like sometimes great men can be
He
wrong.
he loved the West Side Story remake by Spielberg. So
Well,
again,
it's a
we've been at odds for the
musical.
last couple years where it's
Maybe
like,
maybe
ugh,
maybe he just loved a musical. My commie
yeah,
friend loved the remake, though to be fair, she's never seen the original, and
Well, at
that
the
was
same
that
time,
was
you have to
listed.
understand he's gay, so clearly he doesn't make good
right,
rational decisions anyway. So I mean, you
right.
have
Well,
to like
come on.
grade
I
him with a
like
curve.
musicals. What are you talking about? I'll say
Well,
that was one of the ones that was listed as that was a great film that should not have flopped. And I'm going, no, it deserved to flop. There were so many, like I said, I only found like 7 that I think did not deserve to flop. And I think I'm going to get pushback on a couple of them. But on the whole, and some I did not see. I know that Rob really liked Beau is Afraid. I didn't see that. We do have it in the library. I don't think I was a target audience for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I was like, I would sooner go watch Bros again than watch Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, because I'm not the target audience, and I would feel
mm.
strange being the only male. I presume the
It
only
was
adult
essentially a
male in
movie
the
for
theater.
like 30-year-old women who actually have kids to take their daughters to a movie and be like, "See, this is the movie that I grew up with. Now we can share a moment together."
That book was out when I was a kid,
Hmm.
by Judy Blume, I think. Are you
Yep.
there, God?
Yes,
It's me, Margaret. So,
it was out when I
um,
was a kid,
oh,
Rob.
okay. Well, there you go.
It's probably out when my parents were kids. Didn't she live to be 100 or something like
I
that?
think
Or
she's
am I thinking
still
of
alive, isn't she?
Beverly Cleary?
She
Yeah,
she's got to
Beverly
be like
Cleary
80
or
something.
one of them,
yeah.
Beverly Cleary or Judy Bloom lived to be like over 100.
Okay, Judy Bloom is 85. So if you're talking about someone who's over 100, that's somebody else. So,
Yes, probably Beverly Cleary.
Yeah.
I think she
That's
was
another
well,
name I know.
Ramona Beezus.
Well, let's talk about this because this guy's a good bit of interaction in our chat before we get started with this actual movie review here. Is that Variety put out a list here that we were arguing about right before we went live here, and it's apparently 38 quote unquote great movies that flopped at the box office. Now, the first 3 movies they put up on here in the picture is Annihilation, Babylon, and Ad Astra. If this is the movie, this is the photos that you're going to use to make your case that these are actually great movies that lost a bunch of money. No, these are terrible movies that absolutely deserved to bomb at the box office.
Wait, well,
Almost all of these movies stink.
yeah, well, with apologies to Polly, the Latino slant, and Sarah, they loved Hollywood Babylon and Ad Astra. Sarah and I have had some discussions about Ad Astra. I say Ad Astra,
Mm-hmm.
and as you know, Robert and I joined forces against our beloved Polly when it came to Hollywood Babylon, because
Yeah,
that movie was satanic. That movie was just unbearable. But
demonic. Yeah,
yes,
I mean, like I said, it's absolutely. It was like 3 hours of degeneracy, and then like the last 10 minutes is like, oh, look at the history of Hollywood. It was like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, who put this? Like, this is supposed to be your love letter to Hollywood after everything. You started off the movie with like a producer getting pissed on, and it's like, oh, that wasn't Hollywood great back in the
and the
50s? Like,
midgets
what?
and the midgets dancing on dildo shaped pogo sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the elephant dung flying at the guy. So
It's like literally saying Hollywood. We've been degenerate for at least 100 years that you can go back to. So,
and remember, the whole point of this is that this movie, I mean, this guy's life story inspired Singing in the Rain. All right, one of the great films of all time. I don't know how you
Mhm.
get that. But yeah, to be fair, some of the movies I marked down is like I didn't see, so I can't say whether it was good. I never saw Annihilation, so I can't
Oh,
say
you
whether
can
it's good.
skip it. It's a fucking piece of shit. I went to
Oh
the
yeah.
theater to see it. I was excited because it's Alex Garland who just did Ex Machina,
Hmm.
and it was just this weird. It was this like very feminine focused sort of allegory for cancer, for like trying to tackle this alien life form that was invading the explorers or whatever. And
Oh,
then there's this just unbelievably stupid CGI bear creature, and I just laughed at it in the theater.
mhm.
So
What is
yeah,
it with
it's
Natalie Portman in movies about cancer?
Well, I mean, she identifies with it apparently. So I mean, that's all I could say. Let's go into these movies on these lists and see if any of these movies are actually great movies that bomb at the box office. Now, Killers of the Flower Moon, I would say this is a good movie. I wouldn't go as far to say great movie. Obviously, Rob, you like this one a lot better than I did, but I mean, like I said, I think the problem with this film, the reason why it didn't make money is because it's 3.5 hours long. Like that was the reason that hurt it in the box office. It wasn't anything to do with the quality of the subject matter. It's too damn long for people to sit through. So
Yeah,
that's the problem here with that film off the bat. But we can agree at least when this is a decent movie out of all the ones on this list, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
that was yeah. I think that was in our top 10 for Rob and
It's my
myself.
number one movie of last year. So I
It's my
mean,
number. Yeah, it's
obviously,
my number two. So
yeah.
It didn't make my number 10, but whatever.
Okay.
Bo is Afraid. I did not watch this film, but I
yeah.
know a lot of people did like this movie. It just didn't seem like this is like my type of film. Did any of you guys check this one out?
Well, again, this made my top 10. And in a vacuum, if you're looking at Ari Aster's career, his first two movies made money. So A24 basically gave him a blank check, and he spent $30 million making this. It made, I think, $3 million. So it made basically barely nothing. So next one he's got to make money with.
I do wonder. This is also a 3-hour film or something?
Yes.
To that degree. So maybe that also influenced it.
Well, there's a giant penis monster in it, so it's probably not gonna interest you guys in seeing it. But again, as a movie that's basically about this terrified, petrified Jewish man who's been basically who's been destroyed by his mother, it's just a one long 3-hour nightmare. But it's got some great acting, some great scenes, some great creative stuff in it. But yeah, you definitely, it's kind of like an acid trip.
I always say this: if your movie's not Avatar, don't make it 3.5 hours long and expect to make money. That's all I'm gonna say there. So, number 3 on this list, Are You There, God? It's Me and Margaret. This is not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. You can call it a somewhat tolerable movie, but great movie. That's stretching it by quite a lot. I think I'm the only person here that actually saw this, but I mean, yeah, no, absolutely not. This is a movie that absolutely deserved the bomb. And guess what? I mean, the movie didn't make any money. I mean, it was aimed towards, like I said, middle-aged white women. So if you guys didn't go see it, that's your problem. So
it's curious because this is a movie that's always recommended by my fellow librarians as great children's literature, maybe coming of age. But again, I'm not the target audience. I don't think many guys will read "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret." It's not something that boys will gravitate to. So I can't say whether the quality of it is good or not.
it's definitely not. So that's all.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
Number 4, Dumb Money. First of all, this movie I don't even think even got released in movie theaters. Wasn't
it
this
did.
Bought to Netflix or something like that?
It was an October release. It barely did anything though.
Yeah, it was released, and they sent me a screener, but I never did see it.
It's not good. I mean, it's another one of these product movies like Blackberry was, or and again, those are good examples of it. Blackberry, Air, Tetris, but this is basically just, I don't know. The story wasn't interesting enough to make a movie out of.
I question the article's listing of an all-star cast. Now, I love Paul Dano, but I don't think he would open a film.
Not at all. Absolutely not. But yeah, I mean, this one, like I said, not only was it a limited release film, I don't think it was that good anyway. So it's just weird that they went off to simp for this movie. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. This is a film that I think barely made my top 10. It was like barely outside of my top 10 here. I wanted to figure out exactly how much this movie made. Now, it's a good movie. However, I think me and Rob both agreed that the third act dragged on a little too long. I think that was probably the biggest hiccup on this whole film. But I mean, I did like this film a lot, but let me see how much this actually made, if I remember here, because I don't remember if it made too much. It was a $55 million budget and it only made $22 million. So yeah, it didn't do good at the box office. Like I said, I think this is like a 2-hour film, and I don't remember if it got that much traction as far as marketing goes, because I think we're one of the few ones that saw this one. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this one I wouldn't disagree too much with.
Yeah, I never saw it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I actually thought, and I've said this on Twitter, I thought that for 2/3 of the movie, it was one of the best movies I had seen that last year, and then the third act happened. So I think it's a very worthwhile movie if you like those kinds of stories. It's a great story of heroism. It just the the way it goes about it, trying to get Jake Gyllenhaal back in the country after, once he's extracted or left, it's like, it's just a little bit too much to swallow. But I thought it was very good 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah, like, same here. I think it was like when Jake essentially escaped from the Middle East and then decided he had to go back. I think that whole like sequence there like really killed the momentum of the film, and they probably should have figured out a better way to handle that one. That was my big knock on this one. Now Tar, I will say this one. I like Tar. I think Rob liked Tar as well, but I think we both agree this is not a movie for general audiences. Like, this is literally a movie for nerds like us who actually like watch film and cinema and can talk about all the camera angles and the mise en scènes and all that nonsense. Yeah, this is definitely not like a film for broad going audiences. So that's probably why I didn't make too much.
Yeah, this barely got a positive review from me, and I think again length was an issue. Certainly, Kate Blanchett gave an absolutely sensational performance. She was, I mean, she was an unlikable character, but
She should have
she,
won Best Actress last year instead of Michelle Yeoh. It was a much better performance,
Yeah.
much more depth to it, a dark character. I mean, the movie basically is about cancel culture, and it's like
yeah,
whether she did the things that she's accused of, it's sort of irrelevant. It's more about how she just snaps at the end,
yeah,
But
and yeah, I mean, I did like that scene where she lectures that woke conducting student. It's like, yeah, these are dead white men, but they have great work, and who are you to decide that they're not good? I don't know. I still think Michelle Yeoh probably would have gotten my vote that year, but I would not have objected if Kate Blanchett had won. Though I think maybe she lost in part because she already has 2 Oscars
true,
or
yeah.
maybe 3. So Michelle Yeoh had none. So there was that. It wasn't terrible, but I thought it was very
Yeah,
long.
same here. Fablemans. I did not
Deserved to
catch
flop.
this movie, so
Deserved to flop. I don't want to see, Steven Spielberg presents Steven Spielberg, the life story by Steven Spielberg. And that whole thing, the Fablemans, it's like the Fable Man. He's the Fable Man. Isn't that clever? I've always hated that
No,
title. I've
no,
always
it's
hated that title.
self-serving narcissism is what it is.
Yeah, and
so Steven
look,
Spielberg. Yeah, yeah.
nothing against the kid here. He did a good job, and I was a little thrown off that David Lynch was playing John Ford. It's like I love John Ford, I love David Lynch, but why are they here? But no, it was basically the Steven Spielberg biopic on Steven Spielberg, and it's like, no, why am I watching this? No, it deserved to flop.
All right. Number 8, Babylon. Like I said, this was a movie that absolutely deserved a flop. I mean, this was just an absolute mess from start to finish. Like 3 hours and 5 minutes long. It was like just a degenerate love story to Hollywood that tries to actually like turn it around in like the last 10 minutes to be wholesome
It
after
had
just
no,
telling us what a bunch of scumbags all these people are. It's like, well,
you
what are we even doing here?
it had no plot. It had no plot. The first 30 minutes is this bacchanalia that would have put Caligula to shame. And then you have nothing. It's like it's the transition from silent to sound film. It was just going all over the place. It had no direction, and then it ends in this. Oh yes, isn't film great? The one good part is where Gene Smart is talking to Brad Pitt and talking about how you'll fade away, you'll still be watched forever, so you do have a
Right.
kind of immortality. Apart from that, this movie is an absolute piece of garbage, and I don't understand why so many people defend it as this unimpeachably great unspoken masterpiece. It's not. It's rambles, it goes all over. It's kind of like me whenever I start talking. It
Yeah,
rambles,
that's
it
why we
goes
have
all
a
over
bunch of
the place.
buttons for that.
But it was garbage. Although I did like the music. I'm sorry, I did like the music. It
Of
should have
course you
won
did.
over. It should have won over those 3 notes from All Quiet on the Western Front.
Women talking. Is this a great movie?
Kelly,
I mean,
listen, Kelly Reichardt, the director of this, doesn't make good movies. He
no.
makes painstaking, paint drying, unbelievably uninteresting character studies of movies.
What
That's
other
her
movies?
brand. Her
What other
brand
movies has
is
he made?
unsexy, like just this blue gray filter of life being depicted, and I've always hated her. I've always hated Kelly Reichardt, so I'm not surprised that this is on here, like, as being an important movie or
Well,
whatever.
what other movies has she made?
First
That I want to know.
Cow,
There's that.
20th Century. I think it's wait,
Women?
yeah. I actually don't think it's 20th Century Women. I think I'm
Oh,
screwing it up with another one that
okay.
Lily Gladstone was in, actually, with Kristen Stewart.
I don't know.
Old Joy, like it's just, yeah, it's and the types of stories she made. It's like the most mundane, like I said, character studies you could possibly come up with, and it's like, okay.
There are no.
Meek's Cutoff. Quentin Tarantino said Meek's Cutoff is like the worst Western that's ever been made.
You know what? I wrote a very negative review for Meek's Cutoff, and I got kind of criticized for saying that I should reevaluate it, and I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Good.
But for women talking, it's so boring because
It's pound for pound probably the worst film title of all time. So yeah,
that's
like
not
women
wrong.
talking.
Said
Number 10, she said.
she said women talking like back to back.
So I actually have something to admit here. When I was watching this movie, I could not help myself. Okay, just full disclosure, I have a crush on Carrie Mulligan, and
I
I
thought you
think
were
this
gonna say
is
the other one.
well, I actually, yeah, this is the more embarrassing part. I think it's Zoe Kazan. She thinks
Yeah.
she's the granddaughter of Elliot Kazan,
I
but
believe so.
yeah, no. Watching this movie, I'm like, I there's nothing going on screen, but I'm like, I can't stop watching these women. Like, it's just the movie's awful. Like the limo that comes up and threatens them,
Oh yeah.
like, or whatever the vehicle was, and it was just like, come on, guys, you're not important.
I
Nobody
actually
cares
burst
about
out
you.
laughing at that part.
I do have to say here, for
laughing.
someone who's given Elizabeth Moss so much crap over the last few years, to come here to publicly admit you had a crush on Carrie Mulligan, like, that does damage your credibility there a little bit. I'm just saying.
No, I'm with Rob on that. She's a pretty woman.
Oh, get out of here anyway. Armageddon Time.
This deserved to flop. It was boring.
Trump's dad is a character. That's sinking.
Oh, that's
Fred
right.
Trump is
Fred Trump.
I
He
forgot all about
speaks
that.
at the private school.
Yeah.
Did he do a Hitler salute during the film? Or
actually, he does something like that. I don't remember what it is. Like, if it's like a racial slur or what it is, but it's something really embarrassing.
Of course.
There we go.
3,000 Years of Longing. Really?
It deserved to flop.
About an elderly white woman who just wants to bang a black guy for like 2 hours. Like, this is that's the whole plot of the movie. This is a great film.
But it's interesting that for all the criticism that people make about, oh, you're always portraying black men as you need to more positive portrayals. You make the black man a genie who is basically a slave. I mean, how tone deaf can you be? And you have the white female as basically the master or the mistress. Well, actually, she's both master and mistress. It's like, no.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then Tilda Swinton's just an unfortunate looking person. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Bros, I mean, come on,
man. I'm just gonna, the Brits have some rough looking ladies, and I know Carrie Mulligan is a Brit, so there you go.
Yeah, bros. I mean, is there anything more we need to say about this one? I mean,
nope. Oh yeah, I just saw Impeachment, American Crime Story Impeachment, and fucking Billy Eichner plays Matt Drudge. I'm like, what?
That seems like pretty good casting, actually. I'm not going to argue that.
I don't know what Matt Drudge looks or sounds like, but it was just a ridiculous, like, oh, okay, you're trying to be a 1940s detective or newspaper
that's
reporter?
That's what he did. That was just
the character. Yeah,
that was his chick. He had the little fedora and he had like the little Drudge Report thing. Yeah, but no, Bros is it's not funny and it's not romantic. I mean, honestly, like I said in my review, if I were gay, I would run back to the closet after watching Bros.
And stay there. Nightmare Alley. Who watched this film? Because I didn't.
I did.
Yeah. I should have loved this. I love film noir. I love the time period. I love the story. I don't particularly like the original, and I know that people will say it's not the original, it's adapted from the novel. I don't care. And I don't think Bradley Cooper necessarily gives a very good performance in it. I don't know. The movie just never grabbed me, and Guillermo del Toro, I don't know what it is. He is a charmless director in my eyes. I don't know if what it is about his visual style that just turns me off. I've just never been a fan of his work.
I thought this was, again, a very long movie. I have not seen the original, but this one just felt like it was going on and on and on, far longer than it should have. But I thought it was very dull, and not particularly great.
This one popped all the way back up, so let's go back down to where we were here. Next movie is West Side Story. Come
Deserve to
on.
flop. Deserve to flop. Although I will say, I thought Ariane DeBose. I thought she was very good
I
as
thought you were gonna say
Anita.
Ariana Grande. I was like, that's not Ariana Grande.
No,
Right?
Ariane DeBose. But who decided that what's his name could sing or dance or
Ansel
act?
Elgort.
And Ansel Elgort, a name that I think is so comically bad, but I know that's his actual name. He can't sing, he can't dance, he can't act. Why is he here? This is a poor adaptation,
Didn't we say
and
something about Steven Spielberg and nepotism and ego and all that other stuff? So
He looks
yeah.
like a younger Josh Hartnett.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least what I think of. And so I don't know. Maybe he has
no,
looks. Certain
no,
people think
I
he has
did.
looks.
I've gotten into discussions with Sarah again because she loved Baby Driver, and I said I refuse to watch it because Ansel Elgort is in it, and I
Yeah.
can't stand him. But I did watch The Goldfinch because I'd heard it was bad, and it exceeded my low expectations in how awful it was, and I delighted in seeing it fail.
This one, In the Heights. Is this the one that
In the
Revenge of the Sith
Heights,
was mocking when they were saying that Washington Heights, the way they were pronouncing
Washington
it?
Washington
Heights.
Heights.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the
Yes.
one that I got on their case. Is like all of these people are from the U.S. I mean, Uznavi was, I believe, born here or in the United States. So why do they say Washington Heights? That is such a
Everyone sounds like they just literally like swim across shore.
and what I found is that this is, I think, the first Lin Manuel Miranda musical that he wrote
Mm-hmm.
for Broadway. And I'm thinking he's doing the same thing that he did in Hamilton. He just repeated himself. It's where people don't actually sing; they kind of rap the lyrics.
It's called slam poetry, man. Aren't you in touch with the New York scene?
No, I'm too white to be doing that. But no, it wasn't a good. There are any songs that I remember from it.
Now, this is a film that me and Rob split on, The Last Duel. He loved it and I hated this film because essentially you made. I think my biggest complaint about this film was that by making, was it Matt Damon and Adam Driver's character both bad guys, there was actually no heroes to be had here, and they shifted the focus on the woman. And I think by doing that, the narrative of this entire movie completely broke apart to where you're just like essentially watching misery porn for 2 hours. But
I will side with Jacob on this. This made my, I think, my 10 worst. This movie's
it
really,
didn't make mine worse, but it definitely wasn't good.
I thought it was bad, and it made a very uninteresting story. And some people think that Ben Affleck was great. I think I fall in the he's really campy and really silly, and I never
My
took him
my
serious.
my thoughts was, oh, Ben must be really drunk during this film because it doesn't
Yeah.
look like he drank very much.
Look, I liked it. I liked the setting. I liked that they had these epic battles that took probably forever to set up and film. I like the castles, the lighting. And she is the hero. She is the hero because it's basically she has no rights. It's not like she has to basically very gingerly operate around, abusive men's feelings. And at the end, watch these two men literally try to kill each other. For her honor, you know what I mean? And so she very much is the character where everything is sort of seen from. But you're right, it's a lot of barbarism, it's a lot of ugly behavior, and it's a really ugly time. I think it was 14th century France. So I thought a lot of that stuff was interesting, and in a movie year where there just wasn't much to really sink your teeth into. So, but Ridley Scott has kind of been on a downward trajectory for a while now. So
Well, I kind of like Napoleon. I'll be frank. I did like it. I
I
will
did
say
not.
that I think I would prefer Lion in Winter. I don't know the same time frame, but that's more medieval.
the
Now,
1975 movie.
No, that's a 1968 movie. Lion in Winter.
Okay, because
Peter
I'm thinking
O'Toole.
about the Teddy Roosevelt,
Oh no, you think the Wind and
John
the Lion.
Milius, The
The
Wind
Wind
and
and
the
the
Lion.
Lion.
My
Yeah,
bad.
no, Lion in Winter. That's Katharine Hepburn, Peter O'Toole.
the Many Saints of Newark. I remember watching this. I thought it was okay, but however, when I was done watching it, I thought to myself, this would have been much better as a miniseries than a movie. I think that was probably the biggest mistake with this whole thing. If this was like a 6-part like miniseries on like HBO Max or on HBO or something like that, I think it would have come off much better. But I think putting it in a movie format kind of hurt it. What did you guys think about this one?
I'm a big fan of The Sopranos. I own it on Blu-ray. I've seen it a dozen times, maybe up to 15 times. I love that show. So I was
Mhm.
excited about this, especially that David Chase was being involved, and he basically got cut out from the start. And so this, we had some terrible recreations of characters, younger versions of, and it was like, this is terrible. This is like somebody just pissing all over the legacy of The Sopranos. That's how bad it was. In the end, where I just, where young Tony Soprano starts hearing "We Don't Stop Believing" by Journey, my head wanted to explode. So this was
It's
for
the song, get it? It's the song from the
e-
thing.
yeah. So as a fan, I thought it was a complete like betrayal of the source material.
Well, I presume that you like it because it involves your heritage and you relate to it. I will say that as someone who has never seen an episode or a full episode of The Sopranos, I was surprisingly not completely lost, but I think people who thought this would be about maybe the early days of Tony Soprano really were getting this other character, and he's not that interesting to follow. And too many shout outs like early on when the baby that was it Michael Imperioli plays when he's kind of pushing Tony Soprano away because he's crying. I'm going, that's a little too cute for my taste. These are not very interesting characters. But this, I think, was one of Ray Liotta's final performances. Uh, but no,
I mean, it was better than his one in Cocaine Bear, so I
that
mean,
Yeah.
was
what's
better. Yeah,
fuck with
was
that?
better than that. But no, it was kind of dull, and it didn't really invite me into the world of The Sopranos.
I
So
will
I
say this: the girl who played his mistress in the movie was smoking hot. I was thinking to myself, she definitely slept with some producer to get this role. There's no other way she's in this movie outside of that. Suicide Squad, really? I mean,
Never
great
watched it.
movies, a great movie here. Like I
no,
said, it's only better than the 2016 Suicide Squad by default. Like that's really what it comes down to. And I wouldn't even call this a great movie. It's James Gunn being James Gunn, and it just gets very annoying after a while. So no. Ollie number 20.
I don't. That's the only one where I marked that I don't remember it. I know I saw it. I don't remember this movie. I think he might have been miscast, and I don't know why so many people went after John Voight for playing Howard Cosell. Maybe he wasn't deserving of a supporting actor nomination. He's not that, it's not that big of a part, even
Is there a
for a
nose
supporting role.
prosthetic? Is that why?
Well, there probably was, and he did
Yeah.
kind of catch Cosell's cadence, but yeah, I don't remember this movie. I would have to watch it again to
I saw
render
it a
what I
couple
think it is
years
good.
ago, and I do like the work of Michael Mann, though I will say as when he went to digital, the look of his movies just went out the window. Ali is the start of that. Ali is not a good movie. Uh, I hate how it's shot. I hate the entire setup. I don't think it's a particularly good performance by Will Smith. And it's a shame because there's a lot of talented people involved. It cost a lot of money, but it's absolutely never sung for me. I learned more about Muhammad Ali through a Mad Men episode than I did with this
Mhm.
movie.
I will say that not remembering it well. This is probably a better performance than King Richard. King
Oh yeah,
Richard
I'm
was
sure.
Yeah, King Richard was
That's not
just
a high bar.
one long Oscar clip. It was like Bradley Cooper and Maestro. Give me an Oscar.
The rhythm section.
This is
This is
garbage. This movie is
this
absolute garbage. How is it listed as a great film? This is
This is
one
the
of
movie where she's supposed to be a spy and she literally gets her ass kicked by a cripple in a wheelchair. Literally, a dude in a wheelchair almost killed her. And
yeah.
she's
The
supposed to
only
be a badass spy.
Jacob. The Oh, no, you forget. She was a coked out hooker that
Hmm.
suddenly was trained to be a super spy. And the only reason that the guy in the wheelchair did not end up killing her was because he couldn't reach the oxygen tank in time. But before that, this guy in the wheelchair was, crushing her.
Was
Thi-
literally laying the smackdown on her. It was basically
yes,
what was happening here.
yes, and they want apparently they left the door open for a sequel or there'll be a whole
Hmm.
franchise. Like, why? It was terrible. It was like I think the worst movie for me, the worst movie of that year.
Ad Astra. This is the film that me and Rob split on. He liked it a lot better than I did. I just thought that this movie was essentially daddy issues in space. But I mean, that's what it really was. I don't know. Maybe I was expecting a more interesting film out of here, but it just wasn't what I was expecting it to be.
I'll say that again. This is the one where Sarah Hargan and I have gotten into discussions. She absolutely loves this movie. If memory serves correct, I absolutely hated this movie. I thought it was boring and pretentious. The music was good, but other than that, no. This is a very dull, slow, boring film, and I did not care for it. And I don't understand why so many people think it's great. Robert.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since I saw it in 2019 when it came out. I think late that year, November or something. I just had a really great experience with it. I thought it was very moving. The opening scene really does grab your attention, where I think
Yeah.
he's falling to earth. He's above. I don't know. There's some kind of like accident or uh, destructive moment going on, and then yeah, it kind of is this slow, arduous thing. I thought it was kind of James Gray's attempt. Now, be very careful with this attempt at his own 2001.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know. And actually the ending did pay off for me because spoiler alert, my big weak spot when it comes to movies is father son like narratives. It's
Yeah.
why Field of Dreams is so impactful. It's why a lot of movies reach me is because of my own lack of relationship with my father. So yeah, no, I'm definitely biased towards liking something like that. And I like James Gray from time to time. I liked um oh shit, I can't think of that movie with Robert Pattinson right now, where they're in like the middle of the jungle or whatever. But
The
um,
Lost City of Z.
thank you, The Lost City of Z. So, and he's done a few crime movies with Joaquin Phoenix that are pretty good. So, I do like him as a director, but I have to rewatch it because my ex girlfriend who was with me at the time was like, "Yeah, that movie fucking sucked." So, I mean, it's. I took her to see First Reform too. That's another movie that trying to get modern movie fans into like something slow and arduous like a Bresson or Dreyer movie. It's I get it.
Hmm.
It's going to be hard. So but yeah, Ad Astra, I'm definitely open to seeing it again to see what I think.
Doctor Sleep.
Put me to sleep.
Uh,
I hated it.
yeah.
Hated it. Two
Look,
and a half
I
No
hours.
disagreement here.
I
No
did not.
disagreement here.
In fairness, I did not finish it because once they killed the baseball boy, I said this is too distasteful for me. I can't watch anymore. I mean, it was already boring me, and I was nodding off repeatedly. But once we got to that part, I said, no, I'm not going to spend more time watching this. So I stopped it, and I said, and so one of the few films that I did not finish, but I found it boring before that, and it's just I don't understand the praise for it.
Yeah,
All it
there's
does
really
is
no good.
copy like the best parts of The Shining and tries to recreate them. I mean, that they did a terrible CGI recreation of like not even Jack Nicholson, but an actor trying to play Jack Torrance. It was fucking terrible. And that's the term I used. It cannibalized The Shining. Even though Stephen King wrote Doctor Sleep, I almost feel like he wrote Doctor Sleep so he could adapt it into a movie and so he could have like one final one up on Stanley Kubrick, who quote unquote ruined his book, which I'm not a big fan of The Shining, but I think that the movie is much better than the book is.
Yep. What else do we have here? Annihilation. This is the one we were talking about at the start of this whole thing. Annihilation. This is the most pretentious dog crap that I've seen in quite some time. This whole thing. This is one of these movies, and you get this every couple of years, but it's one of these movies that people pretend to understand because they want to feel like they're smarter than they actually are. So when the people are watching this movie, especially when they had that whole alien scene with her, like Natalie Portman, and people are like writing these reviews talking about, oh yeah, I totally understood the meaning of like this whole scene. It's like, no, you're a dumbass. And like this is almost as bad as what was that other film, Arrival, that everyone pretended like was good. Like that movie was dog garbage too. This one's actually just shite at every side of the word. But I will say this: the one scene with the bear, I actually did like that scene, but everything else in this film actually sucked. This movie
I never
absolutely
saw
deserved.
it. I
Yeah,
never saw it, so I can't comment.
pretentious dog garbage. No one
This is
cares about
where
this.
what's her name, Tessa Thompson came in and started getting roles. So yeah, it's all women. They're all like exploring this phenomenon, and it's supposed to be it's supposed to be like Mirror, by or Stalker by Tarkovsky.
Hmm.
It doesn't even. And again, I hate Tarkovsky, so I'm not gonna sit here and sing his praises. But he's a beloved, respected filmmaker among cinephiles, and this was
He
just.
was till he made this movie.
Well, he didn't make this. Alex Garland did, who
Yeah.
again, he's had a successful career. He's doing Civil War that's coming out here. Actually, by the way, I am cautiously optimistic for Civil War, just because that idea, I would love to see that play out in an interesting way. As long as it's not, predictive programming or, state propaganda.
Hmm. Exactly, which definitely is, by the way. But
Yeah.
We shall see. We shall see.
Destroyer. I didn't see this one.
I
So.
I
didn't
love
see
this
it.
movie. I love this movie so much. It made my top 5 in 2018. So this is Nicole Kidman basically playing a hard-boiled detective who is like, she has seen some shit. She's been through some shit. She goes through some shit in this movie. One of my favorite things in movies is when women get the crap beaten out of them, especially when they're the protagonist. Now
Mhm.
that's just about like being a worthwhile character and not relying on your femininity to gain sympathy. I love that shit when it's done well. She's not a super cop. She's not a superhero. She doesn't overpower people, but like she does such a great job in this movie. It was directed by Karin Kusama. You guys might be familiar with her. I'm trying to think. She did a horror movie called The Invitation a couple years ago with John Carroll Lynch that was really good. But she's mostly done kind of small indies. But yeah, I would recommend this movie to anybody. But again, if you read the little blurb here, it made like $1.5 million. It
I
was a small
think
movie.
I think I got the screener for it, but never got around to seeing it. So I
Yeah.
might still have it somewhere.
Oh, look at me! I get screeners. Blade Runner 2049.
This deserves to flop so much.
I said this about the movie. Visually, it looks amazing. That's one thing you can't take away. Visually, it's one of the best looking movies that has come out in the last 10 years. But it is an incredibly dull movie. Like, it is just absolutely boring beyond belief. So, like I said, Anna de Armas is in it too. Maybe that's a draw for you as well. But for me, outside of the visuals, there was really just nothing to this film whatsoever.
One of
I've
the
actually
only
always thought it was mediocre. I've always given it a 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it. I do like most part. There is that really weird commie socialisty collectivist bullshit that they try to
Oh, yeah.
force feed Ryan Gosling before, at the end. It's like everybody thinks they're the one, blah 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 blah, kind of thing. And it was just like I hated that. I
Well,
love Blade Runner. Blade Runner is one of my favorite films of all time. That should be on here. Blade Runner, not Blade Runner 2049.
mhm.
Which I agree, it does have a visual appeal, but I also don't like that it's CGI where the original was mostly practical effects. So that's just a nitpick that I have.
with Blade Runner. Oh, I'm sorry. With Blade Runner 2049, I think this was the first time Roger Deakins had won cinematography after like 12, 13 nominations.
Mhm.
And yes, the cinematography is beautiful. It does. I think everyone, even who hates it, thinks that it was visually interesting. The problem that I think is with Blade Runner 2049 is that Blade Runner now is seen as this great film, which it is, and all three versions that I've seen, they all are good. But they decided that it needed to be so serious because that they're trying to recreate what's supposed to be this great sci-fi epic. It doesn't work. My only real bad impression of this, it's bad, it's boring, it's pretentious, and it is a little sad because my friend Fidel, whom you can see behind me, he loved the original Blade Runner and he actually was looking forward to seeing the sequel. Sadly, he died before the movie came out, so
Hmm.
I went and almost kind of in tribute to him, and I'm thinking, I'm glad you didn't live to see this because I don't think you would have liked it at all. This is so boring and slow and pretentious. But yes, the visuals are interesting. And dragging poor Harrison Ford into this, why? I mean, he needs to stop getting involved in legacy films like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and Blade Runner.
That line though did resonate with me. It's like, when you love someone, sometimes you got to be a stranger. You know, I mean, that one line summed up where he'd been, why, why he went into hiding, all that stuff. So
The assassination of Jesse James by coward Robert Ford.
I never saw it.
Maybe if you had to figure out a different title for a movie, more people would have watched it. Maybe that's your
So
difference.
this is a masterpiece in my eyes. This is one of the best films of 2007, which is a loaded year. Great movie, absolutely just incredible film. Um, Brad Pitt is great. You have Casey Affleck who's in it, who's great. There's an amazing cast. And just profile of the two men. It's Andrew Dominic, and if you saw Blonde, you kind of, or Killing Them Softly, you kind of know his artistic milieu. Uh, it's a great movie. It's very long, So again, that's going to be a bit of a hurdle for some people, but yeah, I think if you like cinema, you should definitely check this one out.
I think the title is long, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons that people did not like it or did not care for it. I have not seen it. I have heard great things about it. Casey Affleck did receive a Best Supporting Actor nomination, so it might be good. So I'm withholding judgment. But yes, the title needs to be worked on. They could have just called it The Assassination of Jesse James, and that would have been fine. That might have actually appealed to people more.
Yep. Children of Men.
Hated it.
Love,
Absolutely hate it.
I
Hate
loved
it.
it. I loved it. Okay, I thought it
Alfonso
was.
Cuarón cannot direct a movie to save his life.
Well, he did. A broken clock can be right twice a day. I think this was a well crafted film. I didn't like the little nod to Abu Ghraib. That was a little too on the nose for me. But I thought it was a respectable dystopian film. I thought well of it. But it's one that I might have to revisit because I think I saw it only once. I was very impressed with it, and I have not seen it since.
You
Although
didn't
the
you
only
didn't like the token savior character who's a black immigrant? You didn't like that?
Oh, well, I wasn't thinking about that. The only real memory I have of this movie, well, one of the memories is Gabe always loves to make fun of Michael Caine when he says, "Pull my finger." For some reason, he just finds that hilarious, and that's like my one big takeaway.
Okay, the ending though, where they go to the shaky handy cam bullshit, and it's supposed to be so intense, and people still talk about this on Twitter like it's one of the greatest scenes ever shot, and I'm like, it has nothing. Like there is no camera composition going on at all. Like it's some of the worst filmmaking for a scene that is so beloved by so many people. I'm like, what the fuck are you people watching?
I will
Not
say
this
that
movie.
I did think that this deserved a Criterion, but I have not seen it since, so I'm willing to revisit it.
Fight Club.
Absolute great movie.
Yeah, I like
It
this
was
movie.
marketed terribly by Fox. That's really anybody that knows the story knows this. David Fincher was pissed off about it. I still think it's David Fincher's best movie.
I think
Okay.
one of my memories is that Roger Ebert didn't like how people would prefer watching Fight Club than Vertigo when he had like a little seminar. They kept asking for Fight Club instead of Vertigo, and he was displeased.
Grindhouse.
Too much of a good thing. Well, I don't know if it's a good thing. Too much of something that you love. You smother the thing that you love.
Well,
I'm
wait a minute.
split.
Is
I'm split
this
on Grindhouse because I love the one with Kurt Russell, but I hated the one with Rose McGowan. So
Well,
it's
see, this
like,
is the whole thing. It's Planet Terror, which was done by Robert Rodriguez, and
yeah,
Death Proof, which was done by Tarantino. Death Proof is Tarantino's worst movie, and it's still better than most people's, like their best movie in their filmography. I still think it does everything it sets
I
out to do in terms of its genre storytelling. I think it's effective. I think the women are hot. I like the cars. It's an effective like little genre piece. It's not a great movie, but I don't think it
I
deserved to flop.
I get what they were going for. They were going for an homage to the 70s schlock films that they enjoyed, down to
Mhm.
the faux trailers. That's how we got Thanksgiving, because it was a fake trailer, and then they
Right.
decided to make an actual movie. And I like the trailer for Thanksgiving, but I think it was too much for audiences because it was basically sitting through two movies, like a double feature, and I think it exhausted people. For me, it's like I get what they were going for, but I was not overwhelmed with it.
I agree with that. What's going on here? Hugo.
I love this movie. I
It's the
absolutely
only
love this
Scorsese
movie.
film I have not seen.
Oh wow. No, I actually love it. It's more like family friendly. type thing, and it is an homage to film because Georges Méliès is one of the characters, and he's played by Ben Kingsley. And I thought it was well done. It was nice seeing it. I thought the performances were good. I think it made my 10. I think it made my 10 best that year. So I don't know why it flopped. Maybe it was too kid. Maybe people thought it was like too much of a kids movie. So I don't know, but it's not bad from a bitter elitist has been who makes only gangster movies.
Yeah, like you don't make no Marvel movies. The Master.
This is a very good
Uh,
movie that most people will not get, will not understand, will be frustrated by. I had to watch it like 3 times, honestly, for it to kind of sink in and so no,
the
this was never
not
going to make
L.
money.
Ron Hubbard story. It is
Yeah,
not
it
about
is.
L. Ron Hubbard.
It
No, it
is.
is not. Scientology, David Miscavige, it is not about L. Ron Hubbard. I thought Amy Adams was robbed of the Oscar. I think she should have won for this over Anne Hathaway's One Song and Then I Die movie.
Oh
Yeah,
no. Did
Yes.
she really she won for Les Mis?
Yes, she won for Les Mis over Amy Adams in The Master.
Yeah, that's depressing.
Yeah.
oh, that
Inherent Vice is
sucks.
another movie I liked. I will say it is flawed. It has its issues. This is basically The Long Goodbye. Inherent Vice is is Paul Thomas Anderson's The Long Goodbye. That's what it is. It's a drug. It's a hazy drug, and The Big Sleep. Where you don't really know the mystery. You don't know what's going on, but I saw it when I was perhaps a little bit more optimistic about love and relationships, and I always liked that he was kind of a sucker for this girl that was never going to give him the time of day. It was a dumb hippie chick that he
Yeah,
should have fucking ditched at the beginning of the movie instead of searching for her. But that's him. He genuinely cared about her, and that's the spirit of the movie. But yeah, and Martin Short's crazy dentist character who's drugging people. I get it. It's a kind of a wacky movie, but I'll defend it.
Rob, you are too young to be so cynical about love. I never saw it, so I can't comment on it.
The Iron Giant.
People
Never
love
saw it.
this movie, but I never saw it. But it just has this thing. So many people are so passionate for this movie and they think it's so emotional and deep. I don't know. I've never seen it. I always miss it when they show it, special screenings. One day I'll get around to it, but no, I have no opinion of it one way or the other.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those movies that just attach to people's childhood. Mother.
God, this movie deserved to fail. This movie
Mm-hmm.
deserved to fail. It deserves to be burned and not onto a
This is another
DVD.
movie that thinks it's way smarter than it actually is.
This is an
It,
allegory on the Bible, from
Yes.
basically Genesis to I guess what is it, Revelation, and it's a mockery of actually it's kind of a mockery of, I want to say, Catholicism, because when you eat the child, like you eat the blood and eat the flesh and
Yep.
drink the blood, it's
Mhm.
supposed to be about Christ. I did see this with my mother, and she was very confused and irritated. But I once I told her, "Oh, look, those two guys, those two brothers, that's Cain and Abel fighting. Hey, it's supposed to be about the Bible." Then she kind of understood it, but she still thought it was terrible, and I did too. Why so many people love this movie, I don't get.
No lack of taste.
I mean,
That could
Darren
be it.
Aronofsky, half his career is decent to good movies, and the other half is things like The Fountain and Mother, which are these quasi-religious allegories, and it's just
I will
a
I will
mess.
say that I did buy the Fountain soundtrack. I liked the Fountain soundtrack, but yeah, that was pretentious. That's, I think, the best way. And Noah was also pretentious.
I never saw it, but
I have not seen the Whale though, but
oh, I still cannot believe Brendan Fraser literally won Best Actor for that fucking putrid performance.
It was
He's
because he was
crying
fat
for an
and
award.
gay.
Yeah, it was
and
just
it was a
embarrassing.
comeback. It was a comeback for him. So there you go.
See, guys, you just have to be fat and gay, then you're good. Awards. Under the Skin.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Jonathan Glazer, who just directed The Zone of Interest. This is a big one on Twitter. I've never gotten it. Scarlett Johansson, an evil alien who kills men because she's sexy and can do that. There's one scene on the beach that's very memorable of a father saving their son in the tide, and her just sitting there not caring, just kind of lifeless. But yeah, just
Th-
kind of more
Did they kind
Style
of
over
steal,
substance.
did they kind of steal that part from Leave Her to Heaven? That sounds very much like Gene Tierney in Leave Her to Heaven when she lets the kid drown.
God, she's
If she
like the
watches.
best femme fatale because she's so fucking evil in that movie. And it came out in 1945. She just lets the kid drown. It's so fucked up.
Yeah, it was a brilliant performance. Though
Yeah.
Joan Crawford, she she did great as Mildred Pierce. It would have been a tough year.
Warrior.
I actually liked this movie. I mean, yes, it hit some cliches. Like they're two brothers. One's a teacher, one's like a ex-marine who has a troubled life, and they have to fight in the mixed martial arts fight or something like that. But I thought it was okay. I thought it was I wouldn't say great, but I thought it was good.
I was
Uh,
actually before my Twitter got taken away, Cliff Dorfman, the guy who wrote the screenplay, followed me and we talked a little bit because he was a former guest on the Bret Easton Ellis podcast. So I have some insight to the movie. I just haven't seen it yet. I really need to get around to it.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Nolte, as it says in the article, was nominated for a supporting actor for this movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was an okay film. Not the best film that I've seen, but it's a good watch.
Yeah.
So
And then the last one on this list is Steve Jobs.
it has to be better than the Ashton Kutcher jobs.
It is.
Yeah.
I went to New York. Okay, this is another thing. I was going to take a trip to New York City anyway. I wanted to see a movie, in a big theater there. This is what was playing. I wanted to see it. I can't really say why. The movie doesn't really have a whole lot in it. It's Michael Fassbender yelling at Seth Rogen a lot, as Steve Wozniak, and of course his daughter's name is Lisa, and that's the name of my ex-girlfriend, not lifelong, but longtime best friend, and so of course I had an emotional attachment to it, and that scene, which of course is fake because Steve Jobs was like classically a fucking asshole. So I like Kate Winslet's performance in that. Come award season though, it was completely forgotten. It was like American Hustle. It was that movie that like critics kind of pushed as like the prestige movie that was going to win all those awards, and then it just did nothing.
Well, I thought Kate Winslet and Michael Fassbender were nominated.
Maybe they were. It's been so long though. I honestly can't. I think it was 2014.
Yeah, another one that I got the screener for, but I never got around to seeing. I have no opinion of it, though. Again, I did see Jobs. There was a rush to get the Jobs biopic, and I saw the Ashton Kutcher Jobs, and I thought that was bad. So I
Yeah.
figured that Michael Fassbender. I like Michael Fassbender as an actor. I think he's very good.
Hmm.
I thought he was great in Shame, though I think too many people focused on his penis rather than his performance.
He was
Yeah.
fantastic in Shame. That was one
Yes.
of the first NC-17 movies I saw in a theater.
And it had Carrie Mulligan too as the
Yes,
sister.
that's okay. Not actually falling in love, but yes, that's where I fell in love with Carrie Mulligan, where it was like she sings New York, New York, and she's this fucking mess of a character, but she's alive in a way that Brandon, Michael Fassbender's character isn't, and that's an amazing sort of
Yeah, it was a great.
context.
Yeah, Shame was a great film, but I think too many people focus on the fact that he's appears nude, fully nude, and they were very impressed with it. Like, okay, big
Who
deal.
cares? Yeah.
But yeah, so I never got around to seeing it. I like Michael Fassbender. I feel bad that he's kind of been stuck as Magneto for 50,000 years, and then he did that what is that the Snowman movie, which, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
it's terrible.
Yeah, and they couldn't even pronounce the name correctly. It's Harry Hola. It's not
Well,
Harry Hole.
when
And every time they said Harry Hole, people of course were laughing.
I actually first noticed him in Inglorious Bastards in that great basement bar scene where he gives away the wrong, the English three, not the German three, and it's like fuck. He was really good in that one.
Yeah.
Well, let's just get this over with. Let's just talk
Yep.
about
Do
this
we
shit
do we
movie
have
so
to?
we can go home. I mean, a couple of notes about this film here. This Lisa Frankenstein movie here. First of all, Diablo Cody. She's the woman responsible for Juno, right?
Yes, and she won
Screenwriter, yeah.
best original screenplay, I believe.
Okay, is it safe to say that this woman hasn't actually written anything good in her entire life? Is that going too far?
I never saw Juno, so I can't comment, and I don't know what else she's done.
I actually
Jennifer's
think
Body.
Oh, I
Well,
never saw Jennifer's Body.
there is one movie called Tully that I believe she wrote the screenplay for with Jason Reitman that
Mhm.
was not bad. I actually thought it was pretty decent. Outside of that, no.
When I think Tully, I think the Muppet from Sesame Street.
Oh,
So the whole premise of this movie is that you have this teenage goth girl named Lisa
yep.
Swallows, is quite literally her name here in this movie, who's a teenage misfit who, I guess her mother was killed by a home invader, so she's kind of like weird and socially awkward. And one day, just lightning strikes a grave, and all of a sudden, this zombie comes out, and then she just keeps the zombie as a pet. And the next thing you know, they're teaming up together and killing people, and that's kind of the whole concept of the film. Keep in mind, this is another movie that's supposed to be a horror comedy that is neither scary nor funny. So, I mean, if you're gonna do two genres and fail at both, I don't know what the point of the entire film here is. But obviously, Catherine Newton here is the lead of this film. She's been in a few things of note recently. Obviously, Ant-Man 3 from last year. She was in the film Freaky from a few years back as well. Lady Bird. So you've probably seen her in a couple of things now. She's the only child, and I look. I'm just gonna throw this out here now. Watching her act and then watching her in real life, you can tell that she's like insane. Like she may be like really insane, but she's one of those people where it's like, yeah, definitely she'll clean you out if you ever get married to her in real life. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the whole like setup here at the film, and there's a couple things that bothered me here. It's that I get they were going for like the 1980s aesthetic and the 1980s nostalgia, so it's like the way that it's shot, the music selection throughout the film is supposed to be, yeah, we're going back to the 1980s. I felt like Cody was essentially trying to resurrect like a Heather's vibe with this film, but I just never actually got any of the elements that made Heather's good right, because one, the characters is what sold that whole film, and you don't have any good characters here. You have Catherine Newton, who's a unlikable female protagonist. I'll elaborate on this more a little bit later on here. And then you have Cole Sprouse, who literally doesn't say anything to like the very end of the movie. And then the only other character that we're kind of introduced to is Lisa's half sister, but stepsister.
Stepsister. Tiff.
Yeah.
Taff. Or something like that.
So it's like this whole movie just feels like whoever wrote this just had a bad relationship with their family, and it kind of fits Diablo Cody's character, because I mean, she was a stripper once upon a time, so I'm assuming she didn't have a good relationship with her parents based on that alone. So I can definitely see that seeping in with this film. But look, unlikable female protagonist has been a big problem, especially now that you have movies that are written by women, directed by women, this whole diversity and inclusion push. They keep creating characters that in their minds the audience is going to like, because they're such a narcissistic psychopath that they think that, oh, this is, people are going to identify with this because I identify with this. And then you put this character on a film, and it's like, are we supposed to like this person? Because you're just insufferable throughout the entire movie. Like, there's not even like an olive branch that I can give to you, maybe like a degree of sympathy I can award this character. It's just like, no, you're just a terrible person, and then you're our protagonist, which means that this whole film is already dead on arrival from the jump. Am I being too mean to this film, or is there actually something to it here? I'll start with Rob here.
Yeah. So the big problem with this movie is that, first of all, it tries to be funny and it's not. And then it doesn't know how to develop its main character. So she's a loser. She's kind of not, I wouldn't say she's picked on. I don't necessarily get that vibe, but she's not well liked. She's not popular. People kind of barely know who she is. And like, she's drugged, she's sexually assaulted that's another trope, is like every guy is either like, a
Evil
scumbag or a dickless virgin, so or a eunuch, in the sense that like her resurrected zombie, and it's like she's going after a different guy while she's like getting closer to this guy, and there's nothing likable about her character, about Lisa. You know what I mean? So I found it really hard to even, where are we supposed to go with this? Why do we care about her? And then as she becomes more of a sociopath, it's like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be funny, I guess, except that none of the punchlines have landed. And so the communication by first-time director Zelda Williams, daughter of Robin Williams. Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh my gosh, I didn't
It's
know
like
that.
this person is not a storyteller. And Diablo
Mhm.
Cody, holy shit, dude. Like there's nothing redeeming here at all. Like I like, so I like people, I like characters that are social outcasts or losers or whatever. But like there's usually some, there's some pushback. There's something about them that makes you want to root for them, makes you want to follow them, and become invested. And there's literally nothing to this. It's, oh, she lives in a square house and she's not a square. She's a cool girl who likes cool things. She literally says this later in the fucking movie. So I really don't know what the screenwriter or director was trying for, other than, hey, look how unlikable this girl is. Let's do the she's all that. Let's take a frumpy looking girl.
It felt
Let's
like I
have her,
said,
you know.
it just felt like they were trying to go for the whole Winona Ryder, Christian Slater dynamic with
Yes.
this film, and it just did never worked at any point.
Well, they certainly were trying to draw from Tim Burton, starting from the opening
Yes.
animated montage, and her. I did get a Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice type feel to this. It did not work for me, although, as I commented, I think to Rob, she did kind of remind me of like a young Helena Bonham Carter in her look, in the way she looked, in the way she behaved, slightly quirky, eccentric. Uh, the issue that I had is that I think she's trying to be likable, and I did not hate her character, but I actually preferred the sister. And the one thing that I did like in this movie is that the sister was not the stereotypical mean stepsister who didn't care about her. She's actually the most likable person in the film, because she actually does try in her way to be welcoming towards Lisa, and she does try to introduce her to people, and she does try to be friendly. Yes, she says sometimes, like, she would be good, she would be pretty if she didn't, if she were like Miss Congeniality. But on the whole, she did not deserve what happened to her, even if she is shipping the guy that that Lisa is attracted to. That didn't quite work for me, and that was just kind of an excuse to get her into bed with this guy. And honestly, I didn't like the fact that I have a thing about, not about when you kill characters that don't really deserve the fate that they get.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, Doug, for whatever his flaws, and yeah, it wasn't right for him to be fondling her and insisting that she fondle him. To be fair though, he was intoxicated, so he was not in the full mind. It doesn't make it
Yeah.
right, but he wasn't completely out of it. He didn't deserve his fate. He didn't deserve his fate.
What about the other dude who had his penis chopped off and then
We're
attached to the
going
zombie so she can have sex with the zombie?
all Lorena Bobbitt there. No,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't deserve his fate. And worse is poor Taff. She loses her mother, and then she sees her, or no, the guy she's in bed with, getting hacked off, getting hacked by the zombie person.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't deserve what happened to her.
I can tell that in Diablo Cody's mind when she wrote that scene where the guy like chops his dick off and it goes flying in the air. Like I can see in her mind, she thought, "Oh, this is the part where the audience is gonna just laugh hysterically. So let's slow down everything and like at this really cheap, blood splatter effects and the cheesy music going on because they're gonna absolutely love this." I'm just sitting here thinking,
They well,
no, no, no,
they actually did.
no.
They actually did at the theater I was in.
Well, that's because you're in El Paso.
I almost walked
Those
out.
aren't even people.
That's the scene that I almost walked out, because it was like I just can't.
It
This is
wasn't
so
even.
badly done.
What was the
I
song again?
almost
Was it Can't
just
Fight This Feeling Anymore?
it was one
Yeah,
of those
REO
stupid 80s
Speedwagon.
Yeah. Was
Yeah.
that
Yes.
when he was getting his penis cut off? Going, I'm thinking, do people not remember John Wayne and Lorena Bobbitt?
Well, not only that, look, about this film had my interest for about, I would say, 10-15 minutes. And then once I realized that there was just nothing going on in this movie, like it was directionless, like honestly, the first 2 acts of this just felt completely pointless. I think up to the point where she got a drink spiked at the party at the beginning, I was like, okay, there's a little bit of a setup here, but then after a while, I started clicking on my phone, and in all honesty, if I wasn't doing a review for this movie, I think I just would have walked out of pure boredom, because it was like there's nothing to this movie whatsoever. It's like Newton is not as charismatic as a lead here to keep this thing interesting. Like, if you've seen her in Freaky, she was much better in Freaky, but then again, that goes to show you better writing, better direction in that film. Here, she just represents like nothing. Like, there's really nothing to her character. Like I said, Cole Sprouse, who he's been in things that I have liked in other movies, but like I said, the direction here, just to keep him silent throughout the entire movie, does nothing for me. And then, like, what other characters do you have here to keep people interested? Carla, what's her name, Gugino, or whatever her name is, like, she's pretty much like
The bitch.
gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's gone like 30 minutes in. So it's like what is even like the point
Well,
of like any of this?
when she's killed off and she's dressed in her nurse's outfit, I don't know if this is the intent, but I kept picturing that she's the older version of Promising Young Woman, because that's how she's dressed up as a nurse. It was just very strange to me. And basically, all the people that they're basically killing for body parts, because he gets an ear from the mother or stepmother,
Mm,
he gets a hand from poor Doug, and then he gets the penis from the uh, literature writer, or the literature magazine editor.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why not just go and dig up bodies if that's what you want? Although, granted, they need to be fresh. Though, again, I'm going to get lost a little technical here. That penis would not have worked because it had been detached for so long that it would have just been useless. You need to attach it quickly, and you just can't sew a penis on. You need actual surgery to connect all the,
this is
all of it
another
together.
thing that I
Sorry, I get
noticed too.
lost
This
in
is just
things.
bad film making, like in general. I'm gonna see if you guys picked up on this too. There was a scene where she's talking to her sister. They're at the school, and like they're sitting next to the lockers. You can see like people like walking past them as they're talking. There was this one woman who was wearing the green dress who went by like the Asian girl. I can't remember her name, whatever her name is. Went
Tap
past
or
her in
Tiff.
one scene while they're having the conversation, and then like 3 seconds later, the same woman in the same dress passes by her again, as if she's coming out of the exact same room that you just had the conversation in. And it's like, did no one catch that in the editing room? That literally you had the same woman coming out of the same room twice in the course of one conversation scene. Like, I saw
Maybe
that right away, and I wrote it down, and it was like, who is editing this movie?
maybe it was like a Joe Biden fan who just kind of forgot where they were, and they're just kind of wandering in and out because they keep forgetting something. I
Mm.
don't know. I really didn't care. It's like, again, I got lost in that whole sewing of the hand, sewing of the ear. Yes, you can sew the ear on, and suddenly you'll be able to connect to your internal head, so you can hear perfectly if you just zap someone in the tanning bed. Well, basically, people are not noticing that this is about necrophilia. She's having
Yeah.
sex with a corpse. Okay, she
Hmm.
lost her virginity to a corpse. Okay, so that's necrophilia. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, they're already embracing murder, stealing, and all the other like sins. They might as
But
well just start fucking dead people too, right?
but even the jokes, like some of the jokes that she tried, like talking about like being electrocuted, going to prison and getting electrocuted, and it's like all of the humor or like dark comedy just completely falls flat. And so it has no motor, it has no engine driving it, it doesn't have anywhere to go. And so it's these kind of like teen, John Hughes Heathers. But Heathers was funny as hell. It was blackly comic, it was satirical. It
You
was
had good
like,
writers
They're
with
trying, yeah,
charisma
the
they're
and
parents know what
trying,
the
good
kids are up
actors.
to.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
and
I wanted
and
to point this out. I don't know if either of you caught on to this. How many of these fucking scenes, and I seriously, I lost count. How many scenes were blue and pink, blue and pink, blue and pink,
Yep.
blue and pink? And I tried not to notice it. Like it's in every indoor scene in like her room, or it was blue and pink, like neon lit colors, and it was like, are you trying to like push trans shit right now? Like, and again, I'm not somebody that looks for that stuff, but it was like, this is weird.
Yeah. I mean, then again, that's kind of the one part that I was kind of surprised on because I was expecting there to be some kind of like LGBTQ bent to this film, and surprisingly, it wasn't. I mean,
Yeah,
unless you're counting, the more subliminal, subversive like color schemes there wasn't anything outside of that. But
right.
that didn't help this movie at all. Like I said, but I was so disinterested in this film. Like 20 minutes in, like it got to a point where I was literally like, can I just like walk away and go home now? Because there's like nothing to this movie keeping me interesting at all.
Again, I mean, it's strange going back to Doug. He was in one scene. He did something that was really dumb, but I don't see why he needed to be killed. I
Hmm.
mean, if he had been an awful person, see, that's the thing about Heather's. A lot of the people that they kill are pretty bad. I
I
mean,
mean,
they're
look,
not
he's
they're not the most pleasant
Doug
people.
was basically just a sexually awkward teenager, but at the
Yeah,
same time, she's also a sexually awkward teenager as well. So that means she deserves to die just based on that too. It's like, what angle are we going for with this whole thing?
yeah, and again, I do give them some credit in that the stepsister was actually very pleasant, and I liked it. I mean, she was always trying, she was sticking up for her at times, so that's a kind of a change from a lot of other films that would have gone maybe the traditional route to make the sister or stepsister kind of a mean girl. Here, she wasn't. Uh, so again, none of the people that were killed or punished in some way deserved what they got, and
Hmm.
that's a bother to me. I mean, I that Heather's, you can laugh because they're
Especially
what
when you're
happens.
trying to not only that, but especially when you're trying to do the murders for last specifically, like doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
yeah,
But like I
and
said, these people are so detached from reality. They think that the audience is going to eat this up the same way that they do. So it's like, oh, Doug did this one thing, so he deserves to die now, and everyone's going to cheer. And the other guy is like, oh, well, he was sleeping with the other sister, even though that sister had a crush on him. He deserves to die as well. And it's like, no one has that sense of morality that these people do, and this is why. But this is the type of people who are writing our movies now. And this is why we sit here almost week after week going like, what the hell is
well,
even this?
what about the security guard that just was at the cemetery and he
Yeah,
just tosses her into the grave? I mean, she did absolutely nothing wrong. I was like, and I can't, I don't know why they had to get rid of her. And also, I kept thinking, you're not going to look for Doug. You're not really going to notice that he disappeared. I know that they said, "Oh, he disappeared," but it's like, no, that wasn't a big part of the story. I don't know why that bothered me so much.
it was trash. Let's be very honest. That's exactly why it bothered you. Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest with you. We ran down Argyle last week. This film is worse than Argyle. So if I gave Argyle a 1 out of 5 last week, I gotta give this one at least a half. I wouldn't go as far as a 0, but half a star. That's what. No, screw it. 0. Let's get to 0 out of 5 for me.
The thing is she okay? We're following her character. Is she
Mhm.
supposed to? Are we supposed to identify with the fact that she's gaining some like power, like that, the fact that she's, these people that have wronged her, that, she's at least, the main character and she's the hero, like, again, none of that makes sense, but it also was not funny. And so it's like, if we're supposed to be laughing along with Catherine Newton's character, it was a completely dead on arrival thing. I completely agree with you. 15 minutes in, I was like, this movie fucking sucks. I even put it
Mhm.
on my Twitter. 15 minutes in, this movie is terrible.
Yes, I
So
mean,
it just didn't. It never got better. It just kept going on this timeline of, hey, she's crazy. Isn't that funny and entertaining? And it wasn't. It never connected once.
I could
I,
have given this film a pass because, like I said, when you see the trailer, it's like, okay, maybe this movie won't be great, but if it's at least fun, I can give it a pass. This movie
Yeah.
wasn't even fun. So, like, it missed on all accounts. It wasn't scary, it wasn't funny, and it wasn't fun. So, it's like, what are we doing here with this film?
well, I think I'm probably more generous than you guys. I think it is slightly better than Argyle because Argyle was really bad. I think that this actress, I think she tried. I can't say much of anything. Again, I think for some reason I kept thinking this is like a young Helena Bonham Carter, maybe in the way she looked and kind of was supposed to be kind of quirky behavior, but I was not impressed. I didn't laugh. I was many times I was more horrified, but not in the good way. And again, I like the sister. I think the sister did the best. I would have preferred seeing a movie about her and having to
Hmm.
deal with this character. And when they're at the grave and they go Lisa Swallows, and when they call out Lisa Swallows to report to the principal's office, I'm thinking, do you have to be so obvious? I mean,
Right.
can you not be a little subtle? Uh,
Maybe if the film was a little bit more Wonka Wonka in style of comedy, it probably would have worked. But I mean, it didn't even do that. Like, this isn't
Oh.
like, not another teen movie or like scary movie or anything like that. So
You
it's like they're playing it too seriously for that joke to even land.
do you know what I just realized is that some of the like jokes in the car, between the
Hmm.
two sisters or whatever, it's what they're trying to do is almost recreate. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Better Off Dead,
yep.
but one of my favorite lines, John Cusack goes to, yes, Dan Schneider, who's in that movie. He's like, gee, Ricky, I'm sorry your mom blew up. Or it's like, yeah. So it's just like little things like that, where it's like, it is ridiculous. It is funny. It had just none of that. And, when you're sort of like just trying your hardest to get a joke to land, that is the most desperate, pathetic thing. Just to be sitting there in the audience and just like waiting for something to happen that never comes.
And this is another thing. Like, another reason why a lot of these comedy movies fail is that you have to go with one style of comedy and then commit to the bit throughout the entire movie. So if your comedy style is supposed to be dry and ironic, you have to be dry and ironic the entire time. If you're going for waka waka jokes, then you have to be that the whole time. If you're going for simply references and be like, oh, I remember that part from that one film, that's what you have to go with. If you're essentially just making up your own idea of what funny is, and it's completely all over the place and nothing lands, you get movies like this. So
Well, I mean, I give them some credit also for going for that 80s style, 80s feel. Aesthetic is the word I'm looking
But it,
for.
it
mm,
wasn't, it was a
E-
surface based
Yeah,
application. It wasn't more than costuming and filters and,
music
some
selection.
musical references. Yeah.
Yeah, I
because this
mean, I
movie this movie didn't even need to be set in the 80s like whatsoever. The whole 80s aspect played no like bearing onto the film like whatsoever. It's like the only reason why they made this the 80s so they can have the excuse of like putting her in all these like weird costumes and hairstyles and stuff like that. But it's like this movie could have been something in like 2024 and it would have made virtually no difference.
yeah, but again, what Zoomer is going to start singing? Can't fight this feeling anymore. And I'm thinking, trying to remember I mean, how do I know this song? How do I know this song? It's like why this particular song? Oh, that when they're chopping up the guy, when they're chopping his penis off, it's on
Hmm.
the wings of love. That's why. I mean, I for some reason the audience was laughing at that particular moment. I'm not. I I wasn't
Because
completely
they're terrible
horrified.
people who live in El Paso. It's a very simple
Some
explanation.
of those will be my constituents if I decide to run. So
Yeah,
I'm not going
so
to say that. I'm not going
further
to say that.
situation, they're terrible people who live in El Paso.
I'm not saying that. I love my constituents. But I wasn't laughing. I was more puzzled as to why they thought it was funny. I
Your
mean,
constituents is the reason why Mexicans are getting run over on the Interstate 20 trying to cross to the U.S. border. So like, don't give them too much credit.
it's Loop 375, sir, not I-10. It's I-10. We don't have an I-20 here. It's
Not in El
375.
Paso, but I mean, you got I-20 in Texas. I mean,
Yeah, but not in El Paso. Again, I didn't find it funny. It was more puzzling as to why. And that whole section going slow mo as they're going on the wings of love, it was like, this isn't funny. I mean, to me, to the audience, yes, fine. But I was not laughing. I was getting too lost in the logic of things. Um, but I'm sorry. I do think it's better than Argyle. Argyle's like really at
nah.
the bottom for me. So it's like not it's not a recommendation. I'm not going to recommend it, but it's like slightly higher because at
And
least
Argyle was dumb, but no, this one's way worse. I think I gave up on this movie far earlier than I did with Argyle.
Well, yeah, because Argyle was 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Mhm. And this
But
one
I,
was only an hour and 40 minutes, and I gave up even quicker in this film than I did with Argyle.
I listen, I don't know. I can't compare these. They're going to get the same score from me because as much as I do like to compare and contrast,
Mhm.
they're both so fucking awful. Like the creative decision. Okay, I'm gonna say this: Lisa Frankenstein is slightly better just because it didn't offend me because it had nothing going on. Okay, I don't know how to explain that. Where what the choices Argyle made pissed me off because they were so defunct of any kind of interesting, entertaining, creative output. Lisa
Mhm.
Frankenstein was a nothing. It didn't even get started. It was a dead on a rival product. So I'm gonna give them the same score. They're both getting half a star.
Yeah, I'm probably going to give it. I gave Argyle a 0. I think I might give this a half. I think I might give this a half. It's like, yeah, because I'm thinking to myself, I actually would prefer watching Mean Girls than I would this. And, well, actually, I gave that one a 0 too. So
Here,
maybe yeah, I don't know. But it's still not particularly good or funny.
here's my scale. It's better than Book of Clarence, but it's still worse than Argyle. So that's kind of my scale right now. But then again, out of all the movies that I've seen so far in 2024, only one movie I've given better than a star and a half so far. I think the one I gave a star and a half to was Miller's Girl, that Jenna Ortega movie from
Eh,
a couple weeks back. So yeah,
But this is
that's
what
where
you
we're at.
get with a screenwriter like Diablo Cody and a
Mm-hmm.
first time female director. And I say that because again, you get these opportunities because of a track record you've had. And hey, if you believe in Zelda Williams and her vision, but didn't really feel like she was
She
doing
was
anything more than
literally
walking through
named
So
the steps.
this is
She
her
was
first
literally
film.
named after the Zelda video game on the record.
Hmm.
So just throwing that out there.
So this is Zelda Williams's first feature film.
I believe so. I don't know if she did anything prior to this because
We were talking about nepo babies, and now we
hmm
have the daughter. I did not know she was the daughter of Robin
So she did
Williams.
a short back in 2018. That was the first one she'd written and directed, and it was literally about the BDSM scene in Los Angeles, California. So that was her only directing experience before she got this film.
Look, I mean, whatever you say about, I just saw like a little YouTube video about Sofia Coppola. Whatever you say about her, at least she has crafted films,
hmm,
long
debatable.
before, long before she's. I mean, she was working on films long before she started with Virgin Suicides, which I never saw, or Marie Antoinette. Um, but I don't think you should hand a large project like this to any first time director,
Hmm.
regardless of whether it's male or female, the daughter, son of a famous person. This would require, I think, more capable hands to have the tone right of whether it's going to be like a
So
spoof
this
or whether it's going to
is
be a comedy or whether it's going to be something slightly off kilter.
this is the problem with Hollywood, and they don't want to admit it, but it's true. Your films are dying right now because you have unqualified people writing and directing these movies. That's the problem. You wanted we need to find a woman director or a Native American director or blah 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 blah. So now you hired all these people with no writing experience, and they're just creating absolute garbage. And you guys are losing billions of dollars, and you're wondering why. This is exactly why. So congratulations.
This is why you had you had like a version of an apprenticeship when it came to the so-called golden age, where you had the studios again train you people and train not just the actors but the writers and the directors. You had short films. That's where you put the young up and coming director to prove his or her, well, mostly his back at the time, but you have them start with small projects. You don't throw people into big films or trying to make a film like this if it's just your first film. It's a bizarre idea, and again, it doesn't matter to me whether it's a male or female or even the child of a famous person. You need to have more capable hands in
Yeah.
making a film, and even with maybe I guess writing. I know that Deborah Cody has what done. This is her third script, I guess. I don't
I
know.
think it's a fourth or fifth, honestly. But I,
She's
I
been riding
listen.
that Juno train for decades now.
Well, it's an Oscar, so I get it. But um, Look, I have no problem with women directors. It really, like, I more or less make a joke about it on Twitter because so many people love praising and overpraising female directors as being important or needing more opportunities or chances. And it's like, okay, if you want to really have that debate and judge a filmmaker based on their gender, that's fine. I'll take all the men and I'll win. You know what I mean? If you want to be that
Yeah.
reductive and stupid about it, I'll make an ass out of you because I will sit on that hill and be like, oh yeah, I can just name great male directors and you'll lose every single time. And I understand the historical hurdles. I understand there haven't been many female directors, but like it doesn't help when you have Elaine May who absolutely fell on her face with Ishtar.
Oh
You know what I mean?
gosh.
One of the
Yeah.
biggest flops in the history of movie making. And so it's like if you want to do it, you better know the business, you better be good at it because nobody's going to let you forget that you failed. And by the way, many men have been driven out of Hollywood because they couldn't direct a what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
this idea that women are treated unfairly. It's like, no, it's you're either good enough or you're not.
I will say that I do own the Blu-ray of Ishtar. And yes, it more than lives up to its reputation. I will come at you, Rob, when you sit on that hill. I will come at you and scream, Lenny Riefenstahl, Lenny
Right.
Riefenstahl.
She's the greatest female director of all time is Leni Riefenstahl. So and that's the best
Yeah.
joke ever. You know what I mean? For a group of people who want to praise female filmmakers, like, what is she? What's wrong with her?
Yeah. And
Everything.
yeah, we did have to watch Triumph of the Will in film class, but there's
Well,
nothing wrong. This is where you get people and to train them, get them into an apprentice program. I would support that, but you don't give a major project to a first time director and expect a massive success, regardless of gender.
well, look. Next week we got 2 movies coming out here. So here's your assignments. Rick, you're gonna watch Bar Marley. Rob, you're gonna watch Madam Web. And don't get excited about either film because I just checked IMDb, and both films have confirmed that there are 4 screenwriters for each movie. So,
Oh boy.
yeah.
Hey, at
We're
least I'll be able to close my eyes and listen to the music, but I'll be the only one who's not stoned in the theater,
hmm
allegedly.
Yeah, exactly. That's another place you don't want to be in a compromising position when you're in the middle of an election season. So,
Yeah, in Texas, no less.
yeah.
I could drive up to New Mexico. It's only like half
Yeah,
hour.
you're gonna go to the Bob Marley screening, get pulled over on the way back home, and then try to convince the cop that you're not high. So that should go well for you.
I'm just getting into care. It's medicinal, sir. It's medicinal,
hmm
man.
And then next thing you know, you're just in a jail or Juarez because no one actually believes you're American. So yeah, it's a whole downfall. Hey,
Was
that
it
see, that's a
born
I
in
just
East LA?
yeah,
Which I do own somewhere here.
see, I just came up with a funnier concept for a film in 3 seconds than whatever the hell this was here tonight. So. All right, let's go ahead and sign off here and let people know what you guys got coming up. Rick, what's going on with you?
Besides my campaign, which probably died tonight, yeah, just writing more reviews, especially finishing up the Best Picture nominees. The last one I saw was American Fiction, and so I'll be writing a review for that as well. Yeah, just more reviews. That's really all I've got going for me.
And by the way, that campaign was dead the second you announced it. It wasn't just no.
Well, it was dead when Pete said that I basically endorsed Hitler. All right.
Oh yeah, that bit was funny. I gotta find that bit and recreate it. That was hilarious. Uh, Rob, what you got coming up?
Yeah, so I'm just working on some reviews that I probably should have gotten out earlier this week. But I was kind of worried about my procedure that I had on Thursday, so that's out of the way. I'll be working on those starting tomorrow. I've got Argyle, got American Fiction, The Zone, and now Lisa Frankenstein, which I don't know how much I'm going to be able to say about it. Just like tonight, I was kind of tongue tied because it's like there's just really nothing going on for an hour and 41 minutes, but. Get those reviews out. I am going to do a stream probably just going to shoot for Wednesday. Wednesday's a good day. But I'm going to be on the Bible Lens podcast on Monday. I'm going to be on the Bar Room on Tuesday, so you can check me out there. Just my Twitter's at the bottom there. I'm still working from my backup account. Don't think I'm going to get my old account back, but I'll keep filing those appeals.
The only person who's been banned from Twitter two times. What we got coming up on Monday night? Yeah, Rob's going to be joining me for a special episode of the Bible Lens. It's episode 30. We're going to talk about the idea of people selling their soul to the devil. And believe it or not, yes, there is a biblical basis of people selling their soul to a devil, or at least accepting a deal to worship Satan for fame and fortune. And we're going to talk about how many of your famous Hollywood celebrities, not just going back for the recent ones like your Lil Nas X and the Billie Eilish, for recent examples, we're going to go all the way back to the 60s, the 70s, even go back to the 1940s, show you that this has been going on for a very, very long time. So Monday's going to be a very interesting show. Check that out. It's 8 p.m. on Monday, Eastern time. Tuesday, we'll be doing the Barroom podcast. I'll have the topics selected later tonight. And then, like I said, next Friday, we'll be back here again, reviewing Bob Marley and Madam Web. So that's everything I got coming up. Thank you for everyone who joined us here on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Rumble here tonight. Kirk, Roop, Thackeray, and Dante. A couple of people joining us as well. Until then, we will see you guys on Monday night, if not Tuesday night, if not Friday night. We're waving this one and getting the heck out of here. This film killed all of us. So thank you for joining us. We will see you guys next week.
It's over. Go home.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
Okay.
Get out! Get out!
You get the hell out!
Never mind who you thought I was. I'm Rick James, bitch.